We are honored to be joined by Seattle City Council President Sarah Nelson, who sent me a text and said, I want to come on your show because I have an announcement to make. So let's get right to it. What's your announcement?
My announcement is that I am running for a second term at City Council.
You're running for a second term. I'm not surprised. Now, full disclosure before we go on, you and I have had coffee together, correct?
Indeed.
Okay. Only once, though, I believe. So I don't feel I'm too compromised in interviewing you. But tell me about, I mean, the big thing, one of your big concerns was, of course, police staffing and the crime problem. This morning, we had a Metro bus driver killed in the Ute District. I know that the council has turned, slightly more conservative, but there's still a big problem. So tell us what you intend to do about it.
Absolutely. That is heartbreaking news. And just yesterday, there was also news that 50 businesses in the north of Seattle also are asking for help. And so what I'm going to do about it is what I have been doing, which is focus on this issue of public safety, bring people to the table and demand solutions. And so what I have focused on in my first term that I'll continue to be doing is bringing back SPD staffing levels. They are at a historic low, about 900 officers. We need to be at least 1,400.
Can you do that? Because, we've been trying to do that for, ever since people realized that defunding police was a mistake. But we've tried bonuses, right? We've tried recruiting. And for some reason, is it that people don't want to work here? Does it require even more bonuses? What do you think?
Here's the deal. I believe that the defund the police policies of the previous council led to a low morale and people leaving the force. So we're still dealing with that, and we're trying to build back up morale by showing that this new council cares about public safety. And over the past couple years, over this past year especially, we have done several things to try to incentivize people to come here. Yes, we reinstituted the bonus program. That was my effort. We have brought officer salaries back up to competitive levels. And I passed a piece of legislation that dug down into the weeds on our hiring processes and recruitment processes. And so it takes everything. It's layer upon layer of efforts to get to where we need to go. And I will have you know that this past quarter, we had more hires than we had separations from the police department. And that is something to celebrate. Although the number is minuscule, that net positive number, we are turning the trend on hiring. And so it's going to take a long time to bring us back up with, but that is key to fighting crime, reducing crime, and creating a safer city.
Do you have confidence in the current leadership of the police department?
Well, there are a lot of changes that are happening. I believe that people are trying. I believe that there is going to be, there is a reorganization of top leadership, and it remains to be seen who the chief will be. But I know that there is recognition throughout the police department that more has to be done, and resources have to be focused on making sure that we can both prevent crime and respond to emergencies.
I admit I don't follow it that closely. I rely on Erica Barnett of Publicola, but it sounds like a lot's gone wrong at the top in the police department. There's been a lot of turnover there. Sue Rahr still the interim chief?
She is.
Okay, but there's no permanent chief.
Not yet.
We just heard Adrian Diaz, the former chief, has now left the department. What happened? What fell apart there?
Well, Dave, I refrain from commenting on personnel issues because there's always a lot more going on behind the scenes than anyone can really understand. What I know is that there are changes that will be beneficial to ensuring that people have the leadership and the direction that they need, and this will filter down to our officers on the beat.
Let me ask you, because I certainly hear rumors circulated. I don't know how true they are. But is political correctness involved at all?
Well, I think that we have a city that is focused on progressive values, but I don't understand the reasons exactly behind all of the complaints. I would say, though, that the ideological driven decisions of the previous council really did undermine the ability for us to get the right people at the top and on the street.
They may have abandoned defund the police, but there seems to be an element that just doesn't like policing, period. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's fair to say that there has been an anti-law enforcement perspective at top levels of the city, particularly the council, and that is changing. What you're hearing right now is council members that are talking about going on ride-alongs, going to roll calls at every single precinct. And so we didn't have that before. We have a council with a chair of public safety that actually cares about public safety. That's really important. And also council members that recognize that there are relationships to mend, and they're trying to do that. And this is, I'm told, being recognized by our patrol officers as well.
Now, I certainly have seen a difference in terms of different responses to incidents, like the CARES team, for example. I saw one of their cars out there. When there's a mental health response necessary, you now have a service that's specifically tailored to be able to handle that, right?
Right.
And now, is it enough? Are we finding that? Because I still will go downtown. I would go downtown almost every day, and there's somebody who's working out something in the streets. I mean, can you call an ambassador and say, this is clearly a person who needs mental help because they're walking up and down swearing about something to an invisible person?
Well, first of all, there is wide agreement from officers to social workers to pretty much all my constituents. They agree that we can't just send a badge and a gun to every single problem, especially with people that are dealing with a crisis, and that's why we have this new alternative response, which I support. However, not one thing is ever enough. We need to make sure that one person in crisis also does not pose a danger. That's why sometimes officers have to go out with this new team. Like I said, we have to take an all of the above approach, but we don't lose sight of our responsibility to maintain the health and safety of our constituents, and so that will likely require a police response in situations where that person could be on a dangerous drug that could produce violent behavior. Right. And so, at the same time, we have to focus on the root problems of a lot of our public safety and chronic homelessness, which is addiction and the fentanyl crisis. And that is one of the things in my tenure that I've been focused on 100%.
I will say most of the tents have disappeared. I didn't think I'd see the day, but I mean, I don't see them downtown anymore unless I'm in the wrong neighborhoods. But the crime problem definitely is keeping people from downtown.
Absolutely.
And part of that is because you still have areas where there are shops closed and it just looks uninviting. Now, can the city be more proactive about that, either helping property owners or punishing property owners who have a nuisance property?
Here's what I'll say. We're not the boss of the private sector. We can't tell employers to bring their employees back, but we have got to create the conditions that make people feel safe coming to work. That means people can come in on public transportation and feel safe, and also walking on the street and not passing people that are using drugs publicly with impunity. Yeah. And so that is what we're focused on, the conditions that make people feel safe on the ground, and that it will go a long way toward making people feel safer coming to work.
City Council President Sarah Nelson, who announces just now that she's running for re-election, and thank you for coming down and visiting us in person today.
Thank you very much for having me, and I sure will miss you on the airwaves in the morning.
You're very kind.